Hi besties, for those of you who went into my channel, my name is Wajihat Bankole, but you can call me YG. And for those of you who've been here, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, where I am going to be doing a wrap-up video for all the books that I've read in the past 3 months. For those of you who don't know, I had surgery back in late February, or beginning, I guess I could say, and I wasn't able to do wrap-up videos for February, March, and April. So 3 months, and we're gonna be doing all those in this video. I'm going to break it down, like the stats, how many books I read in each month. It wasn't a lot. I was in a book slump after my surgery, so I wasn't really able to read as much. And we're gonna get this video on the go. Let's do it. So let's start with the stats. I read 4 books in February, 2 books in March, and 3 books in April. As you can see, March was my worst reading month because that's when my book slump really hit me and no books like sounded good to me. All 3 months together, I read 9 books if you combine all of them together. So we're gonna start with February. I started February off with The Coworker by Frida McFadden. I was really excited for this one. I really liked the beginning. I felt like we had so much potential. The twists and the turns of this book was really good. We're trying to find out if Natalie really killed Dawn or not. I like the fact that Frida McFadden did it in a way of like the present, and then we have to back to the past to see if like there's any clues we can get to see what is really going on. The ending though, I was really disappointed with the ending. I did not like the ending. I felt like the ending was half-assed. We could have did better than that. It felt like the ending was rushed, and I just generally felt like the ending did not do it justice, and I didn't like the ending. Because of that, I rated it a 3-star. I do recommend it, but I just felt like it had so much potential just to give us that type of an ending. It happens a lot with these type of books, especially with like thrillers. Like, you're built up with certain suspense, certain thrills, and you expect the ending to be like a knock 'em out, and then you get to the end, it's like pff, and you're like, what? I hate that in thriller books. And I read The Blackwoods by Brandy Colbert. I really enjoyed this one. It really put a lot of things in perspective. So the first point of view is Blossom's point of view, and Blossom is the great-grandmom of Holly and Erdith. And we basically get the past where she's trying to pursue her dream as a Broadway actress, and then we get the present and how her fame, like Blossom's fame, is affecting her grandkids. So Ollie and Erdith, I think I'm saying her name wrong, they're cousins, and Erdith is kind of following in the same footsteps as Blossom, while Holly really does not like the spotlight. She likes to be, you know, away from the spotlight. She just wants to be a normal girl without the fuss and the turns, you know what I mean? But I really enjoyed this book because it really showed how hard it is to pursue your dream as a Black woman back in the 60s, and it really showed like not to give up on your dreams. Blossom worked her butt off to get to where she got to in the future, and give her kids generational wealth. But then there's also a twist. Blossom had a kid very young, and with her childhood, I guess, lover, they kind of broke it off because he didn't want Blossom to pursue her dream. He wanted her to become a stay-at-home mom, cooking and cleaning while birthing his children, and she didn't want that. We get like how that interfered with their lives, like, and especially the fact that he ends up leaving Blossom to raise their son alone, and because of that, Blossom never revealed who her son's father was, not even to him, not until later in the book that we find out who his father really is. But when you're reading the book, you kind of just already know, like, obviously, but you don't really know again until the end. Like, we don't really get what happened between Blossom and her kid's father. I forgot his name. I rated it 4.25 stars. It was amazing. I highly recommend it. I think you should read it. It was just like one of my favorite books. And then I read Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. Oh my god, where do I begin with this book? There was a lot to unpack in this book, but it's hard for me to explain without spoiling the other books, so I'm just gonna keep it brief and like how I felt about it and like what I really liked about it. But this book was amazing. Like, it was amazing. I feel like we got a lot of emotions reading this book, and we get a lot of clarification, like a lot of things that happened when our main characters Magnolia and Park and BJ, like what they went through when they were 16 and how that affected them now as an adult and their relationships as a whole. And obviously we still get the, oh my god, I hate you but I'm so in love with you, but then we also get them actually together, seeing them together and seeing that, yeah, they can be bad for each other, but they can also be good for each other if they just went past all the mistakes that they've made and like literally just forgive themselves or each other and try to start again. Obviously it's always gonna be there, like the hurt, because let's be honest, BJ was a horrible boyfriend, okay, but Magnolia isn't so innocent herself, but she was just better in the part of she wasn't actually sleeping with everybody. She was just like dating to make BJ jealous and also to like max her pain, while BJ was literally just going as on a train. If you know, you know, like he was just whoever is right in front of him, he gone, you know what I mean? So we had that, but we also had a lot of like, you know, oh my god, I cried. I literally cried at the end. The ending I did not agree with. Like, that hurt a lot, and that shouldn't have happened. If you know, you know. And because of the ending, I've been so scared to read the last book, Into the Dark, because I'm not ready to open up that vault of hurt yet, because oh my god, when I tell you I sobbed at the end, I did not agree with that. But I really freaking love this. I rated it 6 stars. This was my first 6 stars of the year because there was no other rating I could give it because it was just so good. Last but not least, in the month of February, I read Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I really like this one too. It was like a very different fantasy. I think it's like a folk tale fantasy, but I was so scared going to it because I was like, I might not like it, but I ended up, like I said, really liking it. The concept of our main character Signa and death and like their relationship is really amazing. And it also just shows you that don't judge a book by its cover. And I like the fact that we're also solving like a murder mystery in it, which is so weird because I wouldn't expect that in a fantasy book. Because yeah, it's a fantasy, but it's also like a murder mystery like novel, and it's like, what? I really enjoyed it. The twists and the turns and finding so much out about Signa, I really enjoyed because she was so mysterious, and then you start uncovering so much and you're like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. I rated it a 4 star. I really do think you guys should read it. I listened to the audiobook also, and I really do think listening to the audiobook actually helps you get through it because not everybody likes foxtail like fantasies, but if you listen to it, it might actually change your mind because it changed mine. And that was the last book of February. Our lowest reading month, March. In March, I read The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. This one, I don't really remember a lot. It wasn't good enough for me to really think back on and like, you know, be obsessed with the story or the plot. I did not enjoy it, but I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Like I just, the concept was just, no, didn't sit right with me. The ending I did not appreciate. We deserve better for the ending. I have nothing to say about this book. This was like my first book of Lisa Jewell that I generally did not enjoy as much as the others, and that was very disappointing for me. I rated it 3 stars. And I read Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. Oh my god, when I say this book was like, you know, a Pandora box. You think you're expecting something else, but then you open it and you're like, oh my god, I was not expecting that. What the heck? That was this book. This book was so good. I'm telling you right now, you have to pick up this book because it was just like, the concept of this book was so different and so unique. I'm literally obsessed with this book. Like, you go into this book thinking of a different game, and then you start reading it and you realize, oh yeah, no, that wasn't what I expected. It also shows like the different hierarchy between having money and not having money, you know what I mean? Like, and our main character Adina went through that. Like, Adina is a very smart girl. She is, you know, like I said, intelligent. She got into her dream school, Yale. And then we have Esme. Esme is like the queen bee of the school. Esme gets jealous of Adina and basically says something that she shouldn't have said, which caused them to get into an altercation, which basically cost Adina's life. Like, not physically, like in terms of her college acceptance were rescinded, and she almost lost her scholarship in the Remington's school. The Remingtons are basically Kardashians, you know, think of the Remingtons as the Kardashians. They have like traditional wealth and they have influence everywhere, right? And then the Remingtons, they tend to hold these games, I wouldn't say every year, but basically kind of every year, for all like the girls in the town, and whoever wins the games gets basically supported by the Remingtons, or so we thought. Okay, but there's more to it. It's not just some innocent game. It's dark, it's twisted, but you wouldn't think that when you start the book. You would think it's just an innocent game. You have to read it to really find out what really happened. And like, oh my god, I don't know how to explain it. It was just so good. You know those books where you're just like, I don't know what it is about this book, but the way it was put together and written, just, I wouldn't have done it any different. I rated it 4.95 stars. I know I raved about it and you would think it was a 5-star, but it just wasn't. It was close, but there were some things I just felt like could have been the need, but I still generally enjoyed it, and I really recommend it. Like, and then we have our last month, which is April, and in April I read 3 books, okay, and they were all fantasy. I started April off by reading Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the second book to Belladonna, and in this book we follow Faith, and Faith is the brother of Death, and we basically learn more about him and a lot of things about like his past and someone in his past, but I'm not gonna say anything because that's spoiling it. There's not much for me to explain about this book because I would be spoiling the first book and also kind of this book. You kind of have to read the first book to understand what's going on in this book. But I would say that Faith and Death did not like each other. Well, mainly Faith didn't like Death because of a reason that you would have to read to find out. I enjoyed this one more than Belladonna. I gave it a 4.5. I do recommend the series. And I read Heartless Hunter by Christine. I'm not going to butcher her last name because that is not cool. Oh my god, I enjoyed this one. I was so excited to read this book, and honestly it was amazing. This book basically is like, it's a different concept kind of. I have our main character Rune, and she is living in this world where witches are allowed. They're basically haunted and like basically hanged, and they're called the Revolution. So the Revolution are basically humans and they hate witches. And then we have our main character Rune, right? Rune had to basically betray her grandmother in order to save herself. It was her grandmother's idea. And after her grandmother is hanged, Rune finds out that she's also a witch, but before she didn't know that. And now she becomes the Crimson Moth and is saving young witches out there that are being basically snatched up and put like tortured. And then we have Gideon, I think his name is. Gideon is the head witch hunter, and he basically suspects Rune. So in order to figure out if Rune is really the Crimson Moth, he gets close to her. And from there on, things happen between each other. Let's just say there's a lot of betrayal and like just a mess. A mess, but a good mess. A mess that you really just want to keep reading. The plot twist, you kind of start to see it coming, right? In the beginning, you don't see it. But then when you start getting a lot of information, you're like, oh, like you start putting 2 and 2 together. I really enjoyed this book, but I was stuck between a 4-star or a 4.5 stars. I think I'm gonna rate it a 4.5 because I really did enjoy it. The ending was really good. It makes you prepared for the next book because it's gonna be a series and I cannot wait. And I do highly recommend this book. It was just amazing and just fun to read. Like, you just want to keep reading and keep figuring things out, you know what I mean? I read A Faith Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen, another newer release. I was really excited for this book, but it also disappointed me. The things that happened in the book I did not agree with. I felt like it was just, it didn't really make sense in a way. And it was also like the two main characters, the relationship was also, I did not like. I did not root for them. She could have done better. In the beginning I was off for it, but then as I kept reading and learning more about the main male character, I did not like him. I rated it 3 stars. I don't know if I want to recommend it or not, but like, it wasn't my cup of tea. Will I be picking up the second book though? Yes, maybe the second book will be better. But the first book, I wasn't vibing with it. Okay, I was not. Okay, and that concludes the 9 books that I read in the past 3 months. I had a lot of great reads and I had a lot of could be better reads, but I do highly recommend some of these books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had so much fun. I missed doing wrap-ups, so you know, we're back. If you're new here, this is my first video you're watching and you like the vibes, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the family. You will love it here, okay? Because we have fun over here. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Stay blessed, stay beautiful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.